Roland Cherry is very much a man with survival instincts after he was savaged by a hippo in a terrifying attack that almost nobody survives.
I mean, that's the medical opinion as well, isn't it? Roland and his wife Shirley were, up until that point, loving a 5-week camping safari adventure. And then they decided to embark on a river safari along the Kafue River in Zambia. But the trip nearly ended in absolute tragedy. We're going to speak to Roland and Shirley in just a moment. But first, here's Hannah Kings with more on this incredible story.
Roland and Shirley Cherry were on the holiday of a lifetime. A dream trip exploring the untamed wilderness of Zambia. But it turned into a nightmare during a river safari when a 2-ton hippo smashed into the couple's canoe, catapulting them into the water. While Shirley managed to swim away, Roland suffered a dislocated shoulder, leaving him unable to get to safety. The hippo grabbed Roland by the legs and kept him in its jaws, dragging him to the bottom of the river. Roland says the next thing he remembers is sitting in shallow water, but the mammal grabbed him again before tossing him into the air like a rag doll. He was rushed to a small local hospital with serious leg and abdominal injuries. Medical staff were left stunned, having never met a survivor of a hippo attack before. But Roland credits them with saving his life before he was flown to Johannesburg for more surgery. Now home and recovering well, Roland says he doesn't hate hippos, despite his close encounter with one.
Wow. And Roland and Shirley are with us now. You don't hate hippos, really?
Well, we were in their backyard, weren't we?
Yeah.
And, you know, you have to sort of recognise that you're in their natural environment. And the mother hippo that attacked me was probably with a cuff. We wasn't aware of that at the time. But she was doing what her natural instincts guided her to do.
So when you were on the river and enjoying this adventure, but feeling, I would imagine, safe and protected, when you saw the hippos around or knew the hippos in water, what was your feeling about it?
Well, there's the thing. I didn't see the hippo at all. We were in the second 2-man kayak. The guides were in the front canoe, and there were 3 other canoes, 2-man canoes behind us. And I remember the guide turning around to Shirley saying, hippo to the right, keep to the left. So I thought, fair enough, we'll just follow it. I hadn't seen it. And about a minute later is when the hippo smashed into our canoe. We reared up in the air, tipped us into the water, and the side of the canoe smashed into my shoulder and dislocated it. And then we were in the water.
Wow.
I mean, it's terrifying. People will be surprised, I think, that perhaps haven't been as up close and certainly not gone through what you've gone through, that hippos are as dangerous as this, because we all have images, don't we, of a safari and thinking about an elephant charging or a lion attacking. Hippos, I don't know whether it's from animated cartoons or the childhood, seem cuddly and docile.
But they are the most dangerous. And if you speak to the guides, they'll say they're the animal they are really worried about. And we had no idea that there would be hippos in that part of the river. Otherwise, I think we wouldn't have got in the canoe. But you are in a natural environment, and these things can happen at any time.
So that moment, I mean, God, I can't believe I'm even asking the question. This hippo has you in his or her jaws, we know it's a mother probably, and drags you right down to the surface of the river. In that moment, what is going through your mind? Can you even remember? I
remember being dragged down and, excuse me, and I remember thinking, this is it, and this is not how I want to die.
God.
You know, I've got other things I want to do in my life, and this can't be the end of it. And then she dragged me down to the bottom and then let me go.
But didn't she bring you up and then...
No. My life vest took me back up to the surface.
Yes.
And I got to the surface and had a gulp of air.
Yes.
But then she came for a second bite, literally.
I mean, that is almost like if you were writing the film, you know, you're doing the film, the director will go, I'll tell you what we'll do is, you know, he almost escaped and the hippo comes back. I mean, that is just unbelievable.
And then with the graphic description, because I think I must have blacked out when she came and grabbed me again, because the graphic description, Shirley...
I mean, you had to watch all of this, Shirley. What? How could you focus? You know, what was happening with you?
Well, you say watch all of this. I was busy swinging to the bank on the one hand, and when I got there, I looked round to try and find out what had happened to Roland, and I couldn't see him. I think he was under the water at that stage.
Oh, my God.
And I did see him surface, but my line of vision was a bit obscured, and plus, I think 2 other people in the canoe behind had also been capsized. So they were shielding me a bit, and I think sort of trying to stop me from seeing, because we did actually think Roland was a goner at that stage.
Yeah. I mean, did you notice the hippo? Did you know what was happening when it came?
Direct sight. Well, we did know, because when, at the point of impact, it was like an almighty bang. It was like a car crash, because they're such big animals. So, and then the next minute, you're in the water, and it takes you a moment to process.
Now, fortunately, when the hippo finally did let go of you, she threw you onto the river bank. Yeah, I mean, you could have been back in the water.
I think that was the first piece of luck I had, because when she came again, and we got this from 2 Australian girls who are in the canoe behind, and their graphic description of me horizontal in the jaws of the hippo, and then threw me through the air like a rag doll, but towards the bank, and that was the lifesaver. Had she thrown me into the middle of the river, it could have been a very different story.
It looks amazing, and it looks incredible, and many of us watch go, we'd love to be there. The pictures look fantastic. But what would you say to some people going, you know, you shouldn't really be doing that. You shouldn't be putting yourself in that position. You are in an animal's own habitat, and we as humans, we've all done it. We've all been on safaris, and you know, and it's... Are we being invasive, do you think, at times? In that?
Well, it's a very good question, and, you know, I've asked myself that numerous times since. I think my advice is do go on safari. It is the most magical experience, but I think if you're going to go on the river, go in a big boat. Yeah.
So if you're... So you come to in the hospital and... Gosh, everyone around you amazed that you survived. What were your injuries and how are you doing on recovering from them?
Well, I had a very nasty bite injury, and the tusk went all the way up my thigh. There's a very nasty wound here and behind this knee. It's still quite swollen, but healing very well. Another bite here, big gash, 9-inch gash in my abdomen here. And the reason why I think it was important is because I was taken to the local Zambian hospital, the Tendere Mission Hospital in Chirundu, and we're raising money to try and get them an ambulance. You know, that's why we're doing some publicity for this, because we want to give back, you know.
Yeah, that's fabulous.
It was the kindest of strangers, and these people weren't asking for our credit cards or insurance details. They said, you're in a bad way, Mr. Cherry, we're going to sort you out. So those pictures you've seen on the VT were actually in the South African hospital. The Zambian one was much more basic, and that was before we were airlifted to Johannesburg. But the surgeon in South Africa, the plastic surgeon, said, if any of your 3 major wounds had been 4 or 5 mil deeper, you had lost one or both of your legs, and the one into your abdomen, if that got into your gut, you would have probably bled to death.
Gosh. Because the nurses said they hadn't seen anyone survive a hippo attack.
Well, it was the plastic surgeon said, you're a first, Mr. Cherry. I've never met a hippo attack survivor before.
And it's amazing that you've not only just survived, I mean, you don't even look like you've been in a hippo
you
attack.
look fine, and you're even planning further adventures,
Oh,
you
no,
crazy
what are you doing
couple.
now? Can you just go to Westminster Safari Park like the rest of us?
Longley.
Yeah, Longley.
Somebody did say a cottage in Cornwall might be rather appropriate.
Exactly.
So, yeah, we haven't lost our wanderlust by any means, and I think... we'll be planning somewhere else. I'm not sure we're going to go back on safari just yet, but we'd definitely like to go back. It is a magical place.
Fantastic. I'd like to know why the hippo didn't like you. There was something. No, I don't like this one.
And someone, my friend, said, why did he spit you out anyway?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, it's great you can laugh about it as well, what you've been through. It's fantastic.